So the Oceania qualifiers are just a few weeks away now, and one side definitely vying to cause an upset in those games is Fiji, 162nd in FIFA World Rankings right now. And we are joined by a very special guest, Timo Jankowski, the technical director of the Fiji FA. He's joined us from pretty much all the way around the world. Timo, thank you for giving up some time to come and speak to us. So, Timo, in simple terms, what does a technical director actually do? What does technical director mean in this role?
Actually, it's not so easy to explain it in simple words, but I will try. So basically, I'm in charge of the whole technical department, but that's not just including football. That also means, the futsal, for example, beach soccer, also the refereeing, and the whole competition department, the coaching department. So, in simple terms, maybe you can say I'm in charge that we will win in the future, and the national coach, he is in charge that we will win today. Right. So that's maybe to put it in simple words. So my job is much more strategic, but of course I'm also super much interested and helping that we can perform today.
It just sounds like that technical director role. You just have a kind of all-encompassing overview on absolutely everything to do with sort of Fiji football. I had no idea before the call, Timo, how much of a wholesome role that technical director is. I think when you look at kind of clubs in the UK, it's very much centres around kind of transfer activity and everything. So yeah, it's so interesting that real kind of wide scope that you're over. Kind of just talk to us a little bit on how did that opportunity with the Fiji FA come about? Now, yourself, you had kind of playing and coaching sort of previous experience in Switzerland and Germany. Did kind of the Fiji role come about through your kind of previous time in New Zealand, or kind of how did it all come about?
Actually, I was the last 8 years, I was in Grasshopper Zurich, the Swiss record champion in various roles. And yes, it was very interesting and I enjoyed the life in Zurich a lot. But also I felt, if I stayed there, I would have stayed in the comfort zone forever. Right. And especially with I have 3 young daughters, 1-year-old, 3-year and 5-year-old. So they are all here with me. So, we always thought we want to use football to combine it with a family and seeing the world. I was always fascinating. I think, we can talk maybe later. It's the same for you guys. When I was young, my favorite player was George Weah from Liberia.
Really?
So I already started when I was young. So that was my favorite player. And actually, the idea was I had a very interesting project in Africa. But due to the Corona crisis, it made it impossible to go there.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yes. When I was 18, I was playing in New Zealand for a year. And I also visited Fiji at this time already and still had some contacts around. And that's quite quick. After this Africa opportunity was not possible, the opportunity with Fiji came up.
So, it kind of sounds like you've had kind of an interest in just global football. And this is kind of just the next step in your journey of kind of loving football across the world. That's incredible. Now you have, as you already kind of alluded to, you've moved your whole family out there. It is kind of a big change in your life, moving out of that, as you just said, that comfort zone of Grasshopper Zurich. What was the key thing about the role or about the Fiji project that, kind of made you so interested in that position?
Already it's quite some time ago, but when I played in New Zealand, we also had, for example, a former Solomon national player in our team, and also the other teams we played, there were a lot of islanders, and it was quite interesting to see the natural talents they have. I think you can compare it a little bit, with these African players.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's really a natural talent I already liked at this time, and so I was sure the genetics are right. We could also see if they win the rugby gold medal. So the genetics are in place here. And then the conversation went really well. So the Fiji FA is super organized, from the president, from the CEO, because I think if you don't have a good organization, it's very difficult to make changes in a technical department. And the other big thing was the national coach, to be honest, Fleming Zeritzlev. He's my neighbor. We live door by door. I'm super lucky. He's 74. He's so experienced, And yeah, super successful. In Denmark, he was working for many, many years. He was working in Nigeria. He was working in Iran, in Papua New Guinea, and he has such a high knowledge. So yeah, the conversations with him were also really good. So I thought, yeah, it's just a combination together. Nice country, top organized FA, the genetic potential, and then yeah, of course, someone like Fleming, which I like a lot to work with him.
Yeah, fantastic. So kind of just the opportunity and all those different factors just kind of made it something that you were super interested in. That's really, it's quite interesting you talking about kind of the different isolated parts of kind of what made that role kind of stand out for you. Now, you've mentioned it, I sort of touched on it just a brief minute ago, kind of that technical director role is normally associated with, like, let's say like bigger clubs, right? So Arsenal and Everton most recently, and then kind of big national teams, so that kind of ethos is transmitted through all of the kind of the aged teams and kind of becomes ingrained within like the footballing culture. So like England, for example, will have a kind of an ethos throughout their youth teams, under 21s teams, to senior team. Is that the same for a national team like Fiji? Or would you say that you, and you've already kind of alluded to it, are a little bit more kind of spread across? Are you kind of spread across more when you're in kind of an FA like a Fiji FA as a technical director? What's the kind of the differences?
I think it's with a lot of jobs in football. You know, the job titles, a lot of times it's a misinterpretation. But yeah, I think we don't have time for that today. But I think the name of the technical director, it's a totally misleading name. Just the examples that you said, it's really weird. Huh? You have the same name, but in a lot of clubs or FAs, you have a different role. So I think, yeah, that's maybe a problem. But I think the big difference is basically, as you said, in a technical director in a club, you're more in charge of the scouting, of the transfers normally. And here it's really different, yeah. The big thing maybe for me, where I can have the biggest impact is, you know, when I build a pyramid, when I can build the better the foundation, the higher you can build the pyramid. So yeah, I'm really looking after that, the foundation of a pyramid, to make it as strong and as big as possible. And with that, I think it's when you have patience, after a while, yeah, good things will turn out if you have a strong, big foundation.
Yeah, creating that base for kind of a prosperous future within kind of the Fijian football setup. Yeah, really, yeah, fantastic.
Now, Timo, we see more and more in national football teams a number of players representing countries that play abroad, players that have dual citizenship and can represent from overseas. With Fiji, a lot of the players, you know, with the exception of someone like Roy Krishna, a lot of the players do play in the Digicel National League, which of course got underway, yesterday for you. Is the focus of your role looking at players who might be able to play for Fiji in terms of dual citizenship? Or is it more looking to, like you say, improve that foundation of the current players that already play in Fiji?
I think it's a mix of both. You know, I had have a list with 28 players we find out, and yeah, if we could add a top player, but for me it has to be a top player, because if you just get someone in who's as good as our players, it makes no sense. But of course, the top player is always welcome. For example, there's Dan Hall playing in the A League in Australia. He's playing really good, and I know from some people in Europe, he's also some clubs looking at him. So if we could get someone like him, Dan Hall in, it would be great, because he will improve the whole team. The same for the women's team. But yeah, I really see the talent here. And yeah, I really hope also that we can perform in a good way in the World Cup qualifier, because I'm really sure we have some very interesting players. It's just maybe a little bit because at the moment there's just Roy, who's playing professionally since many years and representing Fiji in a very cool way. So I'm sure if we can have the second, the third, yeah, then from there it will go, because I really can see the talent here. You know, I was the last week going around the islands to put the under-16 national team together. So I saw more than 300 players in 1 week. And it's really fantastic. Like, you find players, I can tell you, it's hard to find in Europe, because of this natural movement. You know, in Europe, they start with 5, 6 in a club in a very structured way, which is also good. But the tendency is a little bit, it goes to robots who can perform professionally, but this natural beauty talent, you really see it here. It's unbelievable. So I think part of my job, I want to give the chance first to the people here in Fiji.
Yeah.
And yeah, creating opportunities that they get the training structure and all the things that's needed, where they can express their talent. So it's both. We want to add top players, but it has to be top players. We are very open for that. But my number one focus is, I see the talent here. I want to see the people from the island giving the opportunities.
Brilliant. Love it.
Do you think that the like you say, that sort of free expression of football, do you think that that comes from the futsal and the beach soccer as well? Because obviously we don't really have that as much in Europe. And like you say, it's very, very technical, very rigid robots, like you say. Do you think that the sort of natural flair comes from the other versions of the sports?
No, actually, futsal is quite like, I think we can grow it quite quick. There's a lot of interest, but it's not that. And also beach soccer, everyone thinks, beach soccer must be big in Fiji, but we're just building it up. So, for example, in Switzerland, maybe the top guy in the world in beach soccer, Angelo Cherinzi, he was the guy, he's the national coach of Switzerland. And Switzerland became third on the last World Cup. And Russia, without not so many nice beaches, I guess, they went to the final. So it's a little bit strange, but we're just building that up. But it comes just from the natural environment. I live here in Bar with my family. It's in the west. And we just have a playground right next to the academy where we live. And you just must go there, and then you know where it comes from. Right. This playground normally in Europe, it would get closed, because it's really dangerous, because we have a lot with the cyclones, with the weather, like the whole play of things are damaged. But if you look how they moved, all barefoot, how they run, how they jump, it's unbelievable. Or for example, we have a boy here, like a top talent. I can tell you, really, for Europe, he's 14. He lives 7-8 kilometers away. I dropped him once home. So he runs barefoot to the training, 7-8 kilometers with his back. Then he trains 1.5 hours like hell and runs back without complaining. And if I wouldn't do a break, no one is asking for a drinking break or something like that. So it's really, it just comes from, it's natural here. It's really, really nice to see.
Special, really special.
You've already said about those upcoming World Cup qualifiers. So to anyone who doesn't know, we've already done a video on the World Cup qualifiers, but they get underway in March of 2022. They've obviously been delayed because of the pandemic. And the two groups get underway. Obviously, Tonga now can't compete, so the Cook Islands will go through to that group. How are you feeling about the World Cup qualifiers, Timo? How is the camp ahead of this competition?
Mm-hmm. I think everyone's really looking forward to it. And the last game is 2.5 years away. Yeah. So at the moment, I basically watched most of the trainings. I always sometimes I help also in the training. So I'm really close to the team. And from the training, it looks really good. We have a lot of fast players, a lot of interesting players. The only problem we have at the moment, we have nothing to measure against.
Yeah.
So we have a good feeling. The atmosphere is really, really good. It's that's also a big difference to Europe. It's so nice, the group here. You don't have this this arrogance, or it's a really humble, cool guys working hard. So I'm sure we will have a good team in place. The only thing, but I guess it's more or less, apart from New Zealand, the same for the other nations. It's really hard to say where we're actually standing. So at the moment, we try very hard. We want to go a little bit earlier to Qatar. And on the 10th of March, we will play Vanuatu. But we also hope that we can have 1 or 2 more games. But yeah, it's not so easy to find the opponents at the moment. That would help us very much if we really know where we are standing, though we have something to measure. That would be an important point.
Do you think that how do you think that it would be different if it was played in Oceania to Qatar? Do you think there would be a difference or not?
Oh yes, for sure. Just the weather when you're here in Bar, for example, the west, the humidity, also the grounds, the quality of the grounds in Qatar will be much better. Yeah. So I understand also. Some people come before. I thought the same before I came here. I said, why do they all play in the air? But if you would see the grounds, then it's clear you have to play in the air, because at the end of the day, you also want to win. You have to play realistic. So I think that will be a big change, because I guess we have very nice pitches in Qatar. So we also try to adapt the strategy to that already, that we want to play fast football on the ground. So it's the playing style of our national coach. And I think there are quite some difference. Also the past, if you show it the results, even for New Zealand, it's very hard to beat New Zealand in New Zealand. But when New Zealand comes to the islands, it's not so easy. So it's a big difference. But we are just looking forward to Qatar. It's the same for everyone. We want to give our best, and then we will see how far we will come.
The most recent kind of World Cup qualification campaigns, 2010, 14, 18, Fiji have had kind of varying success, but kind of not really got close to kind of competing for the ultimate qualification or that inter-confed playoff spot. Is there anything different we can expect from this Fiji side this time round? Is there more of a technical ability? Is there more just raw pace in the side? What's the main kind of thing that we can expect from them in kind of that group B, that tough looking group B?
I think I just can tell for our team, because over the other teams, the last video you can find is years ago. They changed the squads, they changed the coach, so it doesn't make much sense to have a look at it. The good thing is Fleming, the national coach, he was the coach of Papua New Guinea. So he knows the region very well, so he can think a little bit, okay, what are the natural strengths, how they will play. That will help us. Yeah, but I think what we want to show is really like we reduce the age of the squad. So we have a lot of young players. Like basically, it's very interesting. We have a lot of fast players. We hardly have like a slow player. So, but with fast, I mean most important from the brain, but also from the speed point of view. So yeah, we will hope. We wanna attack. We won't sit back and wait. So yeah, we really hope everyone can enjoy when we play, because we play to attack. That's the idea we have.
Brilliant.
And obviously, as we know, the top two teams will obviously then go into the semi-finals. Is that the ambition of Fiji? Do you want to make it to those latter stages in this competition?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, everyone who plays there, that's the ambition. Because I think it's really open, just New Zealand had the test games, and we watched all of them, we analyzed the games, and I think they have a really good team. I think big compliment to New Zealand, what happened in the last years. They have a nice style of play, and also that they produce so many players for Europe. Yeah. And what we also didn't know, it's the first two games, it's not in the FIFA window. So actually we don't know how many of the professional players of New Zealand can participate, which I also think it's not fair, to be honest, for New Zealand, because they did such a good work and then you maybe cannot use the players. I think New Zealand probably will be the strongest opponent. Yeah, but also there we will give everything all out. And of course we have the ambitions to move on. But also, as I said, we reduced the age squad because, we want to build up a team also for 2026, where the first time in history it's 1.5 spots for the World Cup. And this year it's just a half spot. So even if you win now the qualifier, you have to play the 5th of CONCACAF. But we play to attack, we give all out, and then we will see how far we will come.
That kind of extra. I think Tom wanted to touch on that. I'll leave that for you, Tomo. I guess from someone, I guess that yourself, Timo, you're kind of actively inside the camp, but I guess perhaps are a little bit freer to give a little bit of an insight into those key figures within the squad. We've touched on Roy Krishna. Obviously the standout name in that Fiji squad. Is there any other names that are kind of form a key part? Is there any sort of early shouts that for players that we can keep tabs on heading into this qualifier, this qualification period that stood out to you and is someone that is potentially kind of going to be a key player for Fiji for now and moving forward?
I think, normally, especially when you talk about younger players, I don't like to make shout outs.
Sure, okay.
For different reasons, but I still I can say some names. If you follow Fiji football, very interesting players. But I think the strength is it's the team. It's a very strong unit. But there's one guy, Nabil Beck. He's just 17. I'm quite sure he can play in every under 19 in Europe. Because the last 8 years I saw so many, even with Grasshopper Zurich, we had tournaments against Dynamo Zagreb, Real Madrid. So, and I was standing also with the Swiss national teams. I see these players on the pitch, and if I see him, 100%. He has it in his feet. So, of course, it's very complex. But, he's one to watch out in the future for sure. But also a lot of other guys. We have, for example, Cedric Hughes. It's the whole package. He has everything. He has the speed, he has the style, the technique, amazing free kick, the creativity. We have a very strong center backs, which are very interesting in different age groups. Also, our goalkeeper, he's now experienced. He's 34, but he's really, if I look at him, he's a modern goalkeeper.
Really?
When I came here, I can tell you, I was really surprised. about the quality. I think it's a little bit, because Fiji was maybe not so much on the football landscape. But I'm quite sure being on the pitch now with different clubs, with different age groups, with the national team, I really see the potential here. And I hope we will present us in a good way.
Yeah.
And I hope some of the boys, they have it in the feet, I'm sure. So I also hope maybe some scouts will come and watch, that we can have some more professional players apart from Roy Krishna. That would be really great for Fiji to inspire the next generation.
Absolutely. Just a quick one. Now, we touched on earlier about your experiences in Europe, Switzerland, Germany, kind of in particular. What are like those core differences, or what kind of differences do you see between players from Europe and that kind of Oceania region? I guess sort of Fiji in particular. Are kind of European players more physical, whereas players from Fiji and that region are more fast and skillful? What's the main difference that you see day to day?
The first thing is more from a cultural point of view, the values. That was really what I was hoping for when I coming here. The values the people have here. Like, I think sometimes a little bit in Europe we lose these values, like respect, family.
Okay. Yeah.
Being humble. So that's the first thing. It really stuck to me. It's such a fantastic group of players. They are so humble. Maybe sometimes they should be a little bit more, you have to know that you are good and you have to show it. It's also, but it's really nice to see. So that's maybe the biggest difference. In Europe, we have all these kinds of player agents. I know it's a part of the game you have to accept. But it's really great to work with the players here. Yeah. So that's from a cultural point of view. But we have also a nice mix, the history of Fiji. We have the so-called the Itoke people. That's the people who lived here forever. And then we have a lot of people with an Indian background. And I think this mix is super interesting. If you see it also in our teams, this Itoke, like it's a lot of physical strength, a lot of speed, like almost like these strong African players from Senegal. And then you have these people from India, very, very quick feet, very good technique. And actually, I think the mix is very nice. And that's something I also want to focus on in the future, that we are more aware of this quality mix. So that's also a very interesting mix. I guess not so many countries have. And as I said before, a lot of fast players. And I just, I said to him, coming from Switzerland, in Switzerland, you just can cross the street. My kids don't even have to look to the left or right because it's so overstructured, every car will stop. But if you go here in Bar over the street, we have these street dogs coming, the cars going like how they want, like crazy, people running. So, it's a very important ability that you scan the whole time. And if you look, the players, they're really good in that, just coming natural. Yeah. So I really see we just have to give this, and it will take years, of course, but we have to give this talent here, the structure, the good trainings. Yeah, and then I really look forward how far we will come here also with the next generations. But the speed in the head and the combined with the sprinting speed, it's super interesting because it's a little bit cultural, and whether you're fast or not, you cannot do so much with training. So we have a very important factor for the modern game here in place. I think that's also a big difference.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And like you say, a very young squad, a developing squad in Fiji, and you've already touched on the next World Cup. Is that, obviously in your role as technical director, is that what you've got your sights set on in the future? Those 1.5 places available for Oceania at the next World Cup, and trying to get Fiji to, and I mean this in no disrespectful way, sort of be that number 2 side behind New Zealand that's really pushing for that interconfederational playoff game against one of the other regions.
Yeah, that's also why I signed a long-term contract here. That's the big aim. I know all the other Oceania countries, they invest a lot as well, which is clear, because just imagine like a small island going to the World Cup, how great that would be. But it's a dream, but it's a long time away. So I think you need a dream to go there, but that's really the ambition. It would be fantastic. Football is complex. Sometimes you don't know what's happening, but I also think when you're positive, you have a long-term ambitions, and maybe the game luck can come to your side. So that's really what we're looking forward. That's why we built also, as you said, a young team who can get now a lot of experience and build a team for 2026.
That 2026, that you kind of touched on a few things, Timo, in this. that 1.5 spaces is such a game changer for Oceania, isn't it? Because you imagine qualification, New Zealand aren't in. Let's just hypothetically just talk it through, because you know what we're like, Tom. We love this. The story of the underdog, the Minnow Nation kind of qualifying. New Zealand aren't in good form. They have an away game at a Fiji or a new Cal, and as you've already touched on, Timo, it's a tough place to go and get a result. And if they don't get that, I just love the fact that 1.5 spaces gives such an opportunity for these nations to find themselves on the biggest stage of international football. It's absolutely incredible, and some of the sort of steps and the processes that you're putting in to kind of give yourselves that, you know, as best an opportunity as you can to get there is, I've absolutely, it's been great. It's been great, absolutely. I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
Yeah, I think it would be brilliant as well, because this group of players, Timo, like you say, it's difficult in Oceania because the players don't get to play that many games internationally. You know, between the World Cup qualifiers, there might be a Pacific Games, but generally there's not much else that goes on. This is, can you feel in the camp with the players that they're excited about? You know, this must be one of the first times that a Fiji side has travelled abroad for a whole tournament like this, being in Qatar. Can you sort of feel that atmosphere? Are the players excited?
Yes. You know, like once they have been at the Olympics, so a few of the players, they went to the Olympics, so they also, you know, tell the others how great such a event is. Yeah, I mean, it's really great because, you know, I'm here since 6 months. But, you know, a lot of people think in Fiji about these dream beaches and everything. But, yeah, for some people, it's also not so easy to live here. It's also like some poor sides. So, yeah, I think I was really lucky because in 6 months, I maybe could travel more around Fiji than some people could. So for these young guys coming out of Fiji to Qatar, it will be really, really great. And I think that's what football is about, you know. Then they will return back. They will, in their village, they will speak about it, how great it was, inspire the next ones. So, I mean, yeah, it will be really great. Yeah, and also we'll travel with the team. So really looking forward, to be there with our players. It will be a great experience for everyone.
Yeah, special for sure.
Timo, thank you so much for your time. Ryan, do you have any more questions for Timo?
Absolutely nothing at all, Timo, apart to say all the best in Qatar. We will be cheering on the Fijians all the way, looking for an upset or two.
Yeah, absolutely, Timo. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely brilliant speaking to you. And of course, we wish you all the best of luck in the upcoming World Cup qualifiers and for the future for the Fiji Football Association.
Maybe before we leave, I have a question for you. I would really like to know, Ryan, Tom, how does it come, you know, that you build this channel, you get this idea to speak about countries who are maybe not so on the football landscape.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be really interesting for me to hear how this idea came. Or
you know what, Timo, you're the first person to actually ask us that. I don't know if you want to take this one, Tomo, if you want me to just lead. No, go on, Tom. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, essentially, Timo, it's a bit of a strange one. Now, back in 2010, when we were, how old would he have been, Tom? Sort of between like 12 and 14 or something. We played, you're going to think this is strange, we played a FIFA World Cup video game, a 2010 FIFA World Cup video game with our good friends. And rather than play as England or Germany, we started scanning the world for small nations, the worst nations on the game. And competing against each other. And it basically, that's kind of it. That's where it started. And we suddenly just built up an affinity with these small teams. And we both absolutely love football as it is. And it kind of then spiraled into what it is today, over a decade later, where we follow all the small nations from across the world, love keeping tabs on how they're doing, kind of regional, smaller tournaments, results, how players are doing, kind of when they move from team to team, and kind of follow some of their journeys as they progress and become professional footballers and do well. I was gonna say, but it all started on a 2010 World Cup video game, and now we are over a decade later, where we've got a channel, you know, still in its infancy, albeit, but where we get to speak to international players and international technical directors like yourself, and yeah, it was Tom's idea last year, and it's kind of snowballed into something really that's kind of feels quite special, and it's turned into something pretty great, Tom, isn't it?
Yeah, and Timo, we're really, really lucky because when we started playing that game that Ryan's just said, 2010, over a decade ago, we didn't have the social media like we do now. So, we learned about all these players and we knew about players like Roy Krishna and from New Caledonia, we knew about Bertrand Kai, for example, some of these legends for their countries. And when we decided to start this channel, I couldn't believe how amazing it is now that we've got all this social media and all this, I reached out to you on Twitter, for example. We talk to players through Instagram and our love for, because we try and watch as much non-league football in England as we can as well. And just our love for football and sort of football at the purest form, like you say, and the stories that you've told really speak to us in terms of, what it means for those Fiji players and going back to their village and, inspiring that generation. That is why, certainly that's why I love football. And that's why we wanted to do this channel. And we've absolutely loved it. And hearing you talk about everything to do with the Fiji Football Association, even the fact that you're here to speak to us and you're in Fiji is quite amazing to us, Timo. But it all started a long time ago when we were very, very young. And we've always followed all of these teams from around the world, and we always wish them the very, very best, because I think that's what football's all about.
Yeah, bang on, mate. Bang on.
No, totally agree. I mean, I really like the idea what you do, because I think you hit a point, because I see a trend, in Europe, like of some things of football, people got a little bit sick of it. And I see a tendency going back to the pureness of football, how you said. Yeah, that was also the case for me. And I really see a trend that more and more people are looking for that. So, yeah, it's great. And thanks for the answer. And all the best with your channel.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate that.
So much. And yeah, just to say thanks again to you, Timo, for joining. It's been absolutely brilliant having you on the show, and hopefully all the best for Qatar. As you know, I'm desperately trying to get out there as well if I can. So it'll be absolutely brilliant. But thank you so much for joining us, and to everyone who's watched this video, thank you so much for supporting DNQ, and we will see you next time.